All right, hi everybody. Can we get everybody on video first of all? Can everybody come on video on this very interesting day? We've got Savio, we've got Amit, we've got Samira, and we've got yours truly, that is Shekhar Vijayan. This is the fourth episode uh, of the S Factor, and in this talk show, we're looking at engaging with thought leaders. We're looking at engaging with influencers and like-minded people. And today we're talking about something very interesting, about a very interesting book called Modi Stole My Mask. So before we start, I want to let everybody know out there, I want to let the elephant out of the room, saying that this show is very apolitical in nature, and we just want to engage, and we want to engage with thought leaders and make sure it's a wonderful forum. We've got some very interesting people who've joined us on the show. We've got children of all age groups. We've got people at the age group of 60, 70, 50, 40, 30 as we talk. And as we talk, the numbers are just growing. And hopefully we'll get more people in. This will be a very interesting 1 hour where we're going to be talking. We'll be engaging with both Savio and Mr. Amit and asking them all kinds of questions related to the book. I had a chance to read the book, and I think the book is very well researched, very well documented. It's a book which should be read by not just every Indian, but by everyone in the world. This is an exhaustive book on COVID and what India has done with it, how the world has reacted to it, and the various narratives which are around it. I think it's a splendid job done by both Savio and Amit, and I would recommend everyone, if you get a chance to read it, buy it for your friends, buy it for your colleagues, buy it for everybody. And from what I also know is this book is going to be translated in multiple languages. We're talking about languages like Oriya, Bengali, Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu. So if you want to go ahead and translate, we've got both the doins out here. We've got Savio and Amit, and they can help you out with that. Wherein, if you want to go ahead and translate the word. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce Savio here. Savio is somebody with whom I'm known for quite some time. We have done shows together. We've come together on Republic TV and Times Now and fought together on the same side. And Savio is somebody who's very multifaceted. I would say he's a Leo. He's a true blue Leo, though he's got a green screen right now. But Savio is a serial entrepreneur with business interest in media, IT, and reality, with 24 years of experience in communications and journalism. He brings a lot of experience in what he does. He's well known as a founder and editor-in-chief of Goa Chronicle, a globally recognized online news portal for its hardcore factual reportage and investigative analysis. He's a popular panelist on TV and web talk shows hosted in India and internationally. His nationalistic views, progressive thinking, and dedication to the pursuit of truth on matters of social justice and corruption has been admired by people globally. Recently, Savio started up with English news channel NewsX and Hindi news channel India News to produce and telecast 2 weekly TV shows. Savio has authored a fiction book called Karmic Ishq on the seldom discussed subject of sexual abuse of children or by family members and strangers. This is his first non-fiction book. Savio, we are honored. We're very pleased to have you in our presence. And Samira, over to you for Amit, sir.
Well, one of the reasons for us to go ahead with this very enterprising and dynamic book is mainly because of the authors behind it. Both Amit Bagaria and Savio Rodriguez, if you hear about them, you will hear it's not just about, their inputs on various, areas, which is something which most of us see off late on all our television channels. But I think the focus here is on the research, the study, the hours of long work and hard efforts, burning the midnight oil. And I can say in their case is very relevant, because if you read the book and when you get a chance to read this very beautifully put research based book, one thing you will know is everything is fact based. It's not about perspectives. It's not just about a basic mindset and opinion, but everything here is more researched, and then it has come through. There is a reference to context. So I think that's the beauty of putting it together. It is also my proud privilege to introduce the co-author Amit Bagaria. He also wears quite a few hats, I should add. He is a former serial entrepreneur, and he became an author in the mid, I think, 2018.
That's right.
Yeah, in the 2018, and he's published not one. This is not his first book, but I think this is his 13th
That's
book.
right.
which is out there right now. Fantastic. And can you believe it? 8 of which have been like #1 bestsellers. It only goes to show that there is so much of research and hard work put into it, and it's really worth picking up. Well, 5 of these books have also been adapted into Hindi, and he writes for over 6 media organizations. In the early years from 1992 to 2002, his joint venture with US-based Fortune 500 company was India's #1 hospital and healthcare infrastructure consultancy. He wrote 2 chapters in textbooks on hospital planning. In 2002, Amit produced a research study with the world-renowned consultancy firm McKinsey, which was presented to Prime Minister Vajpayee. When he was leading the shopping mall development project as a consultant, he also wrote 40 plus data-backed articles in retail books and magazines, some of which I think 6 of them have become cover story. Most of Amit's books are full of research and data. So one can say that he specializes in data crunching. And over to you so that we can start this wonderful topic, which is very relevant in our times. And don't be misled that this is a book which only covers politics as such. It's more of something that's based on an individual leadership for all of us, where we can be responsible to see what are the state of affairs of our world today, especially India, and how can we best take that forward. So let me present it back to my co-host Shekhar Vijayan to start the show.
Thank you, Samira. And before we start, can we get everybody on video, please? It's nice to see all your handsome faces and pretty faces. We don't like talking to just screens which have your names on it. It'll be nice to see a face to it. I think right now only the people who are on video is Mr. Suresh, Nirmala Mahajan, Khushbu. Can we get Shanti ma'am, Diana, Ms. Kokila, Mr. Sridhar, Nina Guha, AKM, Kuku Vijayan, Naren, who's also one of our sponsors. Uh, Also, on that sponsor note, we would love to thank all our partners who've been with us on this wonderful journey. I would like to you to listen into these partners. We've got Ecosol Global, we've got Shavins Entertainment, we've got Bhupolum Botanicals, we've got Sisada Media, we've got I Am Here, we've got Sunshine Bakers, we've got Elephant Marketing, we've got Threadworks, Eat Raja, Chocolato, Enablers, Event Services. We've got some very dynamic partners who've joined us on this journey, and we thank you for it. This is our 4th episode. And like I said earlier, we've got some very interesting thought leaders, very interesting influencers who we've got on board. And we're really looking forward to this very interesting discussion. Like Samira said, and I veto that, it's a very apolitical discussion. And it's very nice to get people like Savio and Amit sir on this very interesting forum. So without any further ado, just a few ground rules when we are asking the questions and when they're answering, we would suggest that you could go on mute, because if you go on mute, the clarity is better and we can hear all of us clearly, right? So let's not be like one big Indian happy family and unmute ourselves. Just please go on mute. We will also take audience questions for them. This is a very, very interesting book. I had a chance to read this book, and Samira also read this book. Very interesting, very exhaustive, and a lot of research has gone into this book, and it's also quite funny. And there's a question around that. Now, before we start, this is the question for both Savio and Mr. Amit. Wanted to ask you this: what does the title mean to both of you, both you, Savio, and Mr. Amit? Savio, you could go first.
No, I would like Amit to go first, because the title was a fabulous idea that he came with, and that's what captivated me to the book in the first place, was the title. So I'll let him start off.
And Savio, just speak a bit louder. Huh? Yeah.
Well, the idea behind the title was very simple, that in late March and the first half of April, there were these dozens and dozens of WhatsApp messages blaming Modi for everything. And, one day I just got so irritated. I said, tomorrow, if one of these people get COVID, they'll say Modi stole my mask. So that's how it came about.
Good. And Savio, what about you? What is your perspective on this?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, understanding the fact that the country was in a health crisis and everybody seemed to have been in some sort of despair. And when they don't have an object to reach out and blame to, the one that they expect most betterment from is the one that they target. So many people were not upset with, people don't get upset with a Rahul Gandhi, they don't get upset with an Arvind Kejriwal because they don't expect a lot from them. But they look up to Narendra Modi, so they will get upset with them. It's like you getting upset with a brother or a sister that you love, and you expect them to do something, but they don't do it the way you want them to. So when Modi Stole My Mask came about, and Amit and I decided to collaborate, and I decided to collaborate with Amit because Amit's a fantastic researcher and he's an even brilliant writer. He's probably one of the few people, and knowing me, having been in Goa Chronicle, running Goa Chronicle for a very long time, I'm not very known to praise people that easily because we are in a competitive writer mode, But I must say, Amit is a far better writer than I am, and he's a tremendous researcher, and it's been an honor to work with him together. And I think when he came with the idea of Modi Stole My Mask, I understood what he was trying to say, because the fact is everybody thought Modi stole their mask, and that may or may not be true. For that, you need to read the book to understand where we stand.
Savio, you want to show the book to everybody? If you have the book.
Well, we don't have a hard copy of it, but I don't know if I
Electronic.
can.
Yeah,
if Amit can share screen and he'll show it.
Yeah.
No, I'm on the phone, so I can't share the screen.
We will share it.
We will share it towards the end of the program.
Sure.
But going over to both of you, what's really intriguing is, when you write a book of this nature, how do you plan, your day? How do you schedule it? What kind of research goes into it? The number of hours, minutes, and also tell us about the fights that happened when you wrote this book together. Did you have any arguments, conflicts? Share, we want to hear your inside story. Savio, we could start with you.
Well, okay, let me tell you how it started. Amit wrote 2 fantastic articles, and I was very impressed by those articles. Those articles are also form certain content of the book, Modi Stole My Mask. I said, here is a person after a very long time that writes and articulates himself very well and is assertive enough to say what he wants to say. And then I realized he was writing the book Modi Stole My Mask. So I thought I'll ask him, out of sheer humility, whether I could be a part of it, because I really liked it. You see, I get impressed very, very slowly from people. But here I saw was somebody who had this great insight on data. This data is, at the end, truth is interpretation of data, right? And data is something that really cannot lie. And so I asked him and requested him if I could be a part of the book, and he said, of course you can. And that's how it all started. Did we have any fights? I think we're both very matured enough to have fights. We have discussions, but no, I look up to Amit as an elder brother. So there's not a chance in hell that I'm ever going to fight with him, even whether we write a second or third book. It's only that we've had various thought points, various breeder points on what needed to be said, what could be done, should the poster, should the cover look like this or that. But those are discussions. I don't think he and I have ever fought on anything, and I don't think we will. I think we're logical people, and I like the way he thinks. And when I like somebody way they think, it's very rare that I'm going to fight with them.
So Savio, before we go to Amit, what is the most challenging discussion you have had with Amit? Because I agree, you might be, professionally well acquainted, and your level of understanding might be great. But what did you feel? Because mindsets differ, and I want to know, what did you feel was your biggest challenge when you reached out to Amit?
I think my biggest challenge was at the initial stage where I was hoping I could be a part of the book, and I thought maybe if I asked him, he would have said no. So when he said yes, I think most of the challenges flew out of the window. That was my biggest challenge, was to actually have the courage to ask him whether I could stay. So what has happened now is, because we realize that we enjoy each other's work habits, he's somebody who's completely focused, as I am, though I have multiple avenues that I look at, as in the Goa Chronicle and various other things which Amit also writes for. I think we are now going to be doing 3 more books together from our estimate over the next 24 months or so, or less. That's what we have envisaged. So I think the first aspect of him was which he will tell you how we connected. But I think it's not the professionalism. I think it's the honesty I liked about it.
Beautiful.
You see honesty. You know a person's writing. At least that's how I judge people. I judge people by their words in their writing and whether it's honest. And I found a lot of honesty in what he wrote. And that's why his first article, it didn't even take me 5 minutes to decide whether I wanted the article to go up or not. In fact, he'll tell you about it. He sent it to me and then he's surprised that he actually saw it because he thought I would take a long time. But I think the honesty of Amit's writing, his research is what I like.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Savio.
Amit,
Yes, Samir.
Amit, can you your point of view? Yeah.
So yeah, so like your question about fights, like Savio has already explained, we absolutely did not have any fights. I don't think.
I think somebody's audio is on.
Can
Yeah.
mute it.
পয়সা দিয়ে দিতে যাও কিন্তু অনেক টাকা মানে 1000 টাকা লাগছে সরকার না তুমি একটু ওয়েট
Somebody's
করো
audio is on.
কয়েকদিন পরে বলছি খুলবে তোমার রেজিস্ট্রি হয়ে যাচ্ছে খুললে আমি তোমাকে জানাবো
I think the host can mute Mamta Banerjee. So,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on.
no problem. So I was saying, forget fight. I don't even think that we had any argument about this. And like Savio said, the proof is.
সপ্তাহ পরে তুমি আমাকে আবার নক করবে জিজ্ঞেস করবে তা আমি
I got the person. Yeah.
The
Please continue.
the proof is in the pudding, right? So like Savio said, we're doing 3 books together, and I'll just give you a sneak preview. 2 of them are just going to be Savio and me as the writer. The third one is going to have 2 more co-authors. So there are going to be 4 of us who are going to be writing it. Something wrong with my. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
hear you, sir. No problem. Continue.
Okay. So in the third book, there are going to be 2 more writers. And just to give you a very, a small sneak preview of that. So Savio is a Christian, I am a Hindu. The other 2 co-writers, one is going to be a Muslim and one is going to be a Sikh. So I don't want to say more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Savio and I think Amit, I think the reason why we asked this question is, like how in TV and all those channels you find, there are these journalists who try to stir a controversy out of nothing. We were just trying our luck on that. But on a more serious note, I think it, like you just let out so much information in terms of the number of books you're coming out with. Now, when I got a chance to read the book, I also saw a lot of dry wit. I think I saw a lot of sardonic wit in the book. When I'm talking about sardonic wit, there was a story you wrote about the lions who got COVID-19. And I think both of you categorically mentioned that, who knows, the lion might just be contesting against Modi in the next elections, which is basically an indirect dig you're taking at all the opponents who, blame Modi for everything, be it right things or be it wrong things. I would love your perspective on that, Amit sir and Savio.
So one of the reasons for using a little bit of more humor here and there is to also make not just to make the book lighter reading, because at the end of the day, the book is about a crisis. So once in a while, take a break from the crisis with 1 sentence or 2 sentences with a lighter humor. The second is to relieve ourselves of the heaviness when we were writing. So yeah, in fact, in the print edition, those 9 lines have gone up to 16 because 7 in Chennai were just discovered COVID positive.
Yeah.
So, something very fascinating I read about your book, a very important element is only those were counted who lost their lives in Corona. But what about those who lost their conscience? They are yet to be counted, What is your message to the co-vultures, the naysayers of India?
Go ahead, Savio.
Well, it's very unfortunate that you know we live in what we consider to be a human world, but we really are living in a jungle. And in this jungle, there are also strange animals that are like the hyenas and birds like vultures. So it's a part and parcel of the jungle. And unfortunately, the hyenas and the vultures are liked as far as the media is concerned, as far as the international media is concerned, and strangely, as far as a considerable amount of people in the country as well. They prefer to listen to the laugh of the hyena and the stares of the vultures. So you had them in media. You see, the problem is this: you have a health crisis. The health crisis is something that has happened. There are people who are losing lives. There are people who are losing loved ones. There is a financial strain. There is uncertainty. There is despair. In such a situation, unfortunately, certain hyenas and vultures in the Indian society that I prefer to call Chinese agents decided to do what should not have been done, which was take the pandemic and make it a plandemic. Let me explain what I mean by that. We are in a pandemic. They turned it into a plandemic. A plandemic was to spread fear, to spread chaos, to spread confusion. Whether it was oxygen concentrators, whether it was hospital beds, whether it was facilities available, whether it was medicines, there was confusion all around. People didn't know what to believe. Even now, with vaccines, people are not sure what to believe because they're so confused with the communications that are happening via social media, WhatsApp chats, or just plain discussions with misinformation or half information in your society or in your groups. The fact of the matter is we are facing a health crisis. We are facing a health crisis that the world has not seen in the last 100 odd years. No country with the size and population of India, no leader would have been able to manage the health crisis. We know the sad part is we are always looking to blame somebody. But when that person dies, Samira and Shekhar, let's say somebody in your family dies or a friend of yours dies. It is not Narendra Modi or Rahul Gandhi or Arvind Kejriwal who's going to shed a tear, are they?
Correct.
You have to live with it. So the first responsibility to managing the crisis is not Narendra Modi's or any of the politicians. It's you. You are responsible for your family. You are responsible for your society. Will they ever answer if you've lost a family member? No. Quite frankly, most of them wouldn't care because in the larger scheme of things, your life is that of a statistics, nothing else.
True.
That is why if you had to ask me, who do I blame? I blame us. We are the COVID idiots. But we are looking for avenues to blame right now.
Absolutely.
One co-vulture that I'd like to particularly mention here, I think Shekhar and Samira, like myself, both of you also live in Bangalore, right? And
True.
we have a co-vulture, a famous co-vulture who lives here. His name is Satish Acharya.
Yes.
Let me call him out.
The
Okay.
cartoonist. Yeah.
That rascal, okay, put out a series of more than a dozen anti-vaccine cartoons while he got vaccinated himself. In fact, yesterday, as late as yesterday, he's put out a cartoon where a patient is getting vaccinated, a person is getting vaccinated and asks the nurse that, is this vaccine made out of halal meat or not? Shameless, absolutely shameless. If this was Saudi Arabia, this man would have been taken in a public square and stoned to death. Unfortunately, in India, we bear people like him.
So Amit, I want to ask you for that reason, when you speak about this, there's a lot of vaccine hesitancy happening even now. A lot of people from the opposition are against it to an extent where even educated people till date are still shunning the vaccine. I also want to quote from your book for those who have not yet got a chance to read it. In one of the places you say, I will not get vaccinated. It's the BJP vaccine. The BJP can't be trusted, says Samajwadi chief and former UP minister Akhilesh Yadav. And little later on, you also go to say people like Shashi Tharoor, who are currently, inflicted with COVID, and his family as well. Jairam Ramesh, Manish Tiwari, all of them were against until former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and his wife got 2 jabs. So my question to you all is, what has held, is it a political reason to create such a mindset change, number one? And all of a sudden now people are, trying to get their appointment on the Covaxin portal, for example, the CoWIN portal. What has happened? What has helped transpired and shifted this mindset?
So the same man, Akhilesh Yadav, the former UP's chief minister, yesterday put out a tweet saying that although we were not ready to take the BJP vaccine, we are now ready to take the Government of India vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? And that was because his father, there were pictures going viral on social media of his father, Mulayam Singh Yadav, taking the vaccine. So he needed an excuse. Now, as far as all the others that we've named is concerned, whether it's Shashi Tharoor or Manish Tiwari or Jairam Ramesh or whoever, I'll put it like this, that the hesitancy about the vaccines may have been there probably in 95% or more of the population. I will say that even I, back in November, December, was not sure whether I would take the vaccine. I also had hesitancy because not enough was known. And there were reports going around saying that it usually takes 8 to 10 years to develop a vaccine. How have these, COVID vaccines come out so soon? Are they safe, etc., etc.? But I didn't play politics with it. I discussed it within my own family. I didn't put it out social media. I didn't write a Facebook post or a blog. These people, obviously, even if it was their own feeling, should have kept it to themselves. But when a politician who has, who's 60 lakh people or 1 crore people, or in the case of Akhilesh Yadav, probably 2 crore people listen to, or a Shashi Tharoor who has millions of followers on social media, then they are influencing their followers and fans that the vaccine is bad. What purpose do they serve? The only purpose that they serve is that thousands and thousands and thousands of people above the age of 60 have probably lost their lives because they didn't take their vaccines. So they have indirectly murdered those people. And like we've written in the book, karma will strike back.
Thank you, sir.
So, yeah.
So, at this point, I want to also involve the audience here. If the audience has any questions for our esteemed panelist, please go ahead and ask. We will unmute you. You could ask any question you would have about this very interesting book called Modi Stole My Mask. You could also put your message or question in the chat box. We've also got Naren here. So I'll put Naren on the spot. Naren, if you would want to come on video, Naren is somebody who writes a lot of, he actually writes a lot of political issues. And he's been writing a lot. And he's the CEO and founder of this very interesting company called I Am Here, which has also got a lot of awards from the government of India. And he's also a Virgo like our Honorable Prime Minister. So Naren, if you have a question for both Savio and Amit, please shoot.
Okay, hey, Amit and Savio. Good to know, but definitely whenever I can get my hands to the book, I'll certainly read it, right? I don't have questions, right? But as Shekhar was saying, right, I'm of course interested in politics, and all of us at some stage should be, right? Because we live in a world where society, politics, economics, religion, everything is kind of, I don't know for good or bad, integrated into one single view, right? I don't know if it was there, if it was like this a few decades back, but I just had a couple of points, right? I'm sure you would have also introspected and thought about this, right? This whole blame game, right? If you look at it, right? As a neutral citizen, right? I frankly don't even see this as a citizen versus BJP, Modi blame game, right? I mean, you look at the other side, I mean, you say left wing blames the right wing also blames the left wing, right? I mean, we go all the way up to Nehru and Mughals and British and blame, right? So I think it's probably not a political thing. I think it's just there in our culture, right? And when that is there, you would blame politics for it, you would blame somebody else, or you blame your neighbor for it, you would blame somebody else for it, right? So I don't know whether it's political. Yeah, of course, politicians politicize it, but the rest of the good-willing people, I don't know whether they are just politicizing it or playing blame games, right? And even for that matter, vaccine question, right? Maybe somebody like Akhilesh was completely politicizing it, right? But somebody like Shashi Tharoor, I don't know whether he was politicizing it or he was just being responsible. Okay, of course, they have their vested interest, right? But as people, probably we don't have to put it out on social media and politicize it because we don't serve people, right? But as politicians, their duty is to serve people, and it is in our interest for them to question it. Of course, it was unfortunate that they were politicizing it, which should not have happened, but maybe questioning is not bad, right? So those would be my feedback as a neutral citizen, as a well-wishing neutral citizen who wants the government of India to succeed, regardless of whether it's Modi or somebody else. And of course, now it's Modi, so it has to succeed, right? As a neutral citizen, those will be my observations.
So Naveen, even though you've not asked a direct question and you made a very valid observation, I want to comment on what you just said. Recently there was a 13-day war, I would call it a war, a small mini war between Israel and Hamas, right? And during that 13-day conflict, even though Israel was going through one of its worst political periods in history, where several political parties to the extreme left and extreme right were trying to come together to overthrow the sitting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which is still going on, that is not ended yet. The moment Hamas attacked Israel, all of these politicians united and came together, grouped up with the Prime Minister and made statements in his support, right? But what happened in India? I don't agree with the fact that, Shashi Tharoor didn't play politics. Of course he did. In India, just like Hamas attacked Israel, China attacked us with a bioweapon. COVID is basically caused by the coronavirus, or the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is a genetically modified virus created in a lab in Wuhan. And China attacked the US with it first, and then they attacked us with it. But our politicians did not come together. Instead of coming together and attacking China back, even if it was verbally or diplomatically, no, we started blaming the government, right? So there's the difference. There is the difference between Indian politicians and one example that I gave of Israel. It's also true of, for example, France. Yesterday, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, he got slapped in a public, as he was meeting people, and all his opponents came, in support of him, saying that should not have happened. So that's how people in I would say, a little more mature countries, perhaps. That's how politicians react. But I think, at least as far as Indian politics is concerned, I think the last maturity that we had was probably around 1999. But ever since our politics has been taken over by Italians, I think maturity has completely gone away.
Thank you, sir. So I have to ask both of you this question. Thanks, Naren. That is a very pertinent question, and you raised a larger debate. This is to both of you, both Savio and Amit, sir. you've also spoken extensively about the armed forces. When I talk about the armed forces, especially about the Indian Air Force and what they've done in terms of the oxygen crisis, and you've spoken about it in detail in the book. And and I think they've always led in good state for India whenever any calamities happen. Our armed forces have been right there. Do you want to talk a little bit more about them and tell us a little bit more about what went into writing about the Indian armed forces in the book?
So it's not just about this crisis, right? Whenever India has a crisis of any sort, the armed forces are always there to help. The armed forces in India, unlike our neighbors, are completely apolitical. It does not matter whether it's the lefts, the leftist parties or the rightist party, which is in power at the center. The armed forces are right there. They're always there, willing to help. And I wrote my first fiction novel, which was published in October 2019, which actually went on to create records in India in terms of a crime thriller and mystery novel. It was a fiction novel, and in that fiction novel there was a lot about military warfare between India and Pakistan. Of course, everything was fictional, but basically to get back Kashmir, certain strategies, etc. And because I had written a lot about military warfare, I had sent copies of the book to several serving as well as retired senior officers of the Army, Navy, and Air Force. And many of them, about 11 or 12 of them, were very kind enough to write reviews of the book, which then I published in the second reprint. This time also, I guess, while writing Modi Stole My Mask, a lot of the information was not out there in the public domain about what the armed forces is doing. So I actually sought, information from the retired people, because the serving people are not allowed to talk.
Correct.
And, got some of the information, but they just did some wonderful things. I mean, the Air Force, for example, they flew sorties all over the world. Like the Prime Minister said in his speech day before yesterday when he was announcing the free vaccination for all, he said, I would repeat what he said because he said it in Hindi. He says, "Jahan jo mila, usko hum utha ke le aaye." And that's exactly what the armed forces were mobilized for. Navy ships were sent, Air Force aircraft were sent to any small or large country in the world which was willing to give us equipment and supplies that we needed during the crisis. Because one thing, Shekhar, that I want to point out here, which is actually the crux of our book and the most important statistic at all. And since you read the book, you would realize that there are dozens and dozens of statistics in the book. But the most important statistic of all, and especially for the younger people out here, is that our second wave peak was 4.23 times our first wave peak. 4.23 times. So 97,689 cases that we had on 16 September last year was the peak of the first wave. And the peak of the second wave that we had on May 5th this year was 4,14,000 odd, 4.23 times. Whereas when we did a comparative study with 20 other large countries, most affected by COVID-19, of course, China is the least affected, as they claim. No one believes that, but in any case, we left China out of any number study. It doesn't make sense in including them. But the 20 countries excluding China, most affected by COVID-19, the gap between the first wave and the second wave, the average is 1.66 times. Okay. And when you do, any statistician will tell you, and like Samira was kind enough in the introduction when she did my introduction, that I'm a data cruncher. I have been a data cruncher for many, many years. There is something called outlier. So if you have 1 out of 20, a big number or a small number, you actually leave them out when you calculate the average. Without leaving out the outlier, it was 1.66. The outlier out of these 20 countries was US. If we left out US, the average was 1.27. And India had 4.23 times. Therefore, I would use Adar Poonawala's word. Adar Poonawala, the CEO of Serum Institute of India, the biggest manufacturer of vaccines, he said even God could not have predicted this. And that's the reason why India needed to mobilize the armed forces. In fact, in my mind, the armed forces could have been used for much more than they were already used for. And even now, going forward, we have predicted that, again, through data crunching, that there will be enough vaccines available in India to vaccinate the entire adult population by the 17th of October. There will be enough vaccines available. And by the 15th of November to even vaccinate the population between the age of 2 to 17. However, what we have written is, are we going to be able to deliver this? Will there be enough nurses and techs? And therefore, my recommendation to the government and especially to the Prime Minister is that even for this purpose, to administer the vaccines, please use the armed forces.
Correct.
So when we talk about mobilization, Amit, another key area, I mean, we spoke about the armed forces. I would like to take a step back to talk about the vaccination itself here. And, two areas here. One is the Congress and many other opposition parties, they had a huge hue and cry when it came to the import of the Pfizer vaccine. And all the noise was only for Pfizer at one point of time. No one asked for the Janssen's and the Novavax and Moderna. Why? I mean, why was that, that all focus went on Pfizer, number one? Was there any financial interest involved? And secondly, can you also outline what this pharma terrorism is all about? And, what is it that we all need to know?
Yes, either it could be Amit or it could be Savio. I think Amit has spoken a lot and he needs some water. Savio, if you could add something.
Please go ahead.
No, Amit can certainly talk a lot more. There's no doubt on that. Amit, you want to take this? This is up your alley.
Oh,
that's right.
Sure. So I will start with the second half of your question, Samira. Pharma terrorism basically has been going on for decades, right? There is Arthur Haley's famous novel about it, right? Sorry?
Is it medicine?
What was that?
Is
something medicine, yeah.
Yeah.
The pharma lobby is the second most powerful business lobby in the US after the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex is the lobby of their defense manufacturers.
Correct.
And the pharma lobby has, just like the military-industrial complex, the pharma lobby also has American politicians in their pocket. The difference between corruption in America and corruption in India is that corruption in America is publicized. It's publicized corruption. Because by law there, every politician has to disclose how much money they receive from whom. So there are enough groups, enough NGOs, etc., who come out with statistics about every politician there, especially every lawmaker. And even in Joe Biden's inauguration ceremony, $100 million was contributed by the pharma lobby. Now, basically what pharma terrorism was that somehow ensure that vaccines made by other countries do not get WHO approvals and they do not get used, thereby giving 100% market share to American companies. And they did that with applying several tactics, including people like Rahul Gandhi, Arvind Kejriwal, and Chetan Bhagat talking about it, right? I mean, that was just part of it. And there are many reasons why the Pfizer vaccine will not work in India, and I'll just touch upon one or two of them. The cost of transportation of bringing enough vaccines to vaccinate only 30% of our population itself, just the transportation cost is 7,000 crores, because it requires certain temperatures. The Pfizer vaccine needs a temperature of between minus 60 degrees Celsius to minus 80 degrees Celsius. So they have to be transported on dry ice in aircraft with several precautions, because dry ice combined with cabin pressure can really affect the aircraft. It's a very high risk proposition. And then once it arrives in India, even if you take 2 or 3 hub airports, so let's say that you take, the 4 metropolitan cities of India, you take, Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai, and use those airports to further redistribute the vaccines. I mean, again, where do you get? India only has some less than 30 refrigerated vans which are capable of transporting something from in that temperature. Okay, what we need is 8,000 such vans to transport those vaccines. Where are we going to get them from? Where are we going to get these 8,000 vans? It's just not possible. So the Pfizer vaccine is completely unviable for India. But since the pharma lobby had support of Joe Biden and his administration, what did they do? They stopped sending raw materials to Serum Institute. So Serum Institute, one, has not yet begun the production of the Novavax vaccine. It was supposed to start Novavax production this month. It has not been able to start that because the US has not yet sent raw materials. In a conversation that Kamala Harris had with the Prime Minister 4 or 5 days ago, she's promised that those raw materials will come soon. But even before that, they stopped sending raw materials for Covishield. Not only that, what the US did is they pre-purchased AstraZeneca's vaccine, which is the same as what we call Covishield in India, which Serum Institute makes under license from AstraZeneca. Although that vaccine is not being used in the US. The US has bought and stored 20 crore doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, not because they wanted to use it, but because they wanted other countries not to have it, right? But we have a very clever man in our government. His name is Ajit Doval. He's our national security advisor. Knowing fully well that the military industrial complex is far more powerful than the pharma lobby, and this is completely a hypothesis and a guess. There is no information on which we have based this in the book. But what we have written in the book is that Ajit Doval spoke, there is a fact, Ajit Doval spoke to his counterpart, the National Security Advisor of the US, Jake Sullivan, and within minutes, there was a White House press statement which said that the US will fully collaborate with India and cooperate with India in fighting against COVID-19. And the US will now export AstraZeneca vaccines to India and also export raw materials to India. So anybody with a little bit of brain can guess what Ajit Doval told Jake Sullivan, that we have the world's largest program of import of defense equipment, which is ongoing ever since Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister. How would you feel if we were to blacklist Lockheed Martin and Boeing from the next order of 36 jets, which are going to be in addition to the 36 Rafales that we've already bought? And by the way, I've already told Lockheed Martin and Boeing this. I'm just saying, hypothetically, no action would have been taken within a few minutes if that kind of a threat was not given. So India played smarter diplomacy in this case, beating the pharma lobby by using the defense lobby.
Thank you, sir. That is very exhaustive. And I must say, you have mentioned everything to the T to what's mentioned in the book. I think because I've read this, and so for people who are listening in, if you have not read the book, you're actually getting to hear a lot of information about the book, which Amit sir has just mentioned. So we have a question also from Mr. V. Suresh. He was one of the earliest people to join this call. He was working in HUDCO earlier. Now he's the CEO of another company. He's asked a question: if we do not have 2 of our own vaccines, where would we be? 250 million covered so far. Was it a US pharma lobby behind India bashing in foreign media? So I think he has a question there.
I think I've already answered that, right?
I think that answers your point. So now we have come to almost the end of the session. So, before we end, I had an activity for both of you and for everybody else on this call, and for Samira too. I don't think Samira is even aware of this, what I'm going to do, because I kept it as a surprise for everybody. I have obviously read the book, and there are certain words which have been used in the book, and I know that these are your favorite words. Now, what I want you to do is, Savio and Mr. Amit, I will mention the name and tell me the first word which comes to your mind. Okay, you got to be very quick. First word which comes to your mind. Everybody else, you could use the message board, and Samira, you could also use the message board, or you could mention it. Okay. So 3 of you. All right. Amit, I'll start with you. Will that be fine? The first word which comes to your mind when I say the word biological warfare.
China.
Savio.
China.
Samira.
I'm playing the no blame game here.
Okay. But okay, fine. All right. First word which comes to your mind when I use the word AMB. Savio, go for it.
Rahul Gandhi.
Amit sir.
I would say media.
Media. Samira.
I would join Amit with the media as well.
Yeah, it actually stands for the Anti-Modi Brigade. That's an acronym they use throughout the book, which is very interesting actually. The first word which comes to your mind when you use the word fake news.
Barkadat.
Say Barkadat. Savio is not holding his punches. Huh? Amit.
I never
Amit?
hold my.
Shekhar.
Shaker for fake news.
Of course. He's the king. Barkadat is just a student. He's the teacher.
Okay. I think he meant Shekhar Gupta, not Shekhar Vijayan.
Yeah, not you. Yeah.
I got scared. Samira, what about you? Fake news.
I would say News Corp, because that's where I get all my real news.
All right. The first word which comes to mind when you say the word testing.
Modi.
Testing Modi. Yeah. Amit sir.
I would say Uttar Pradesh, because I think in the last 2 months, 2.5 months, that is one state which has really done very well on testing.
Yeah. Actually, they've really turned it around. Samira, what about you? Testing?
I would say the Trump administration still going through testing through different times.
Yeah. And we've got some very interesting responses on Messenger. People are saying Asha worker, which is so true. And,
of course.
Yes. First word which comes to your mind when I say the word elections. Elections have been widely used in the book, by the way. Savio.
Goa.
West Bengal.
What was the answer, Savio? I didn't hear that.
Savio said Goa.
Goa.
Oh, the election's about 9 months away. That's
Elections 9 months away. Amit sir, what about you? Elections.
Mamta Banerjee.
Mamta Banerjee. Samira.
I would say MLAs, because I think for the first time we have the highest number of MLAs who've switched parties to join the BJP and left Congress.
Yes, we've got DL who says power play. People are very clear. They're using IPL terminology here also. It says power play.
Mamta Banerjee.
Mamta Banerjee. We've also got, yes. The first word which comes to mind when I say the word yellow journalism. Samira.
Arundhati Roy. Arundhati Roy.
Arundhati Roy. Yes, we've yeah. Samira, what about you?
I would say scandal mongering, because that's what's happening.
Yeah. Amit sir, what about you?
Chinese agents.
Chinese agents.
I answered. I said Barkhadar. Yeah.
Barkhadar. All right.
Because Chinese also yellow, and the people who do journalism in favor of China is also called yellow journalism. And I'm not being a racist.
No, you're not. You're not. Last three. First word which comes to your mind when you say the word Bengal.
Banerjee.
Lovely food.
Lovely food. Samira, what about you?
Trinamool.
Trinamool. Amit sir?
Rasagulla.
Rasgulla. Savio, you tweeted about this yesterday. Okay, this particular city. The city is ideally, by the way, the best city in India right now. No prize for guessing which city I'm talking about. I'm talking about Bangalore.
True.
Bangalore. What's the first word which
Calm.
comes to mind when I use the word Bangalore?
Calm.
Calm. Yeah, it's quite a calming place.
Green.
Clean. Amit sir, what about you?
So I would say climate, but I just want to also add a phrase. I just told my son-in-law this morning. I said, Bangalore traffic. You can reach Kenya faster than Pina.
Shekhar, I would like to add to this one. And I think the great news all of us know is there's a big dip in the COVID cases right now with the, Bangalore reporting 9,800 plus cases compared to a huge number earlier. So hats off to all decision makers who I think we all go through a phase of learning and course correction. And, we are all human beings, and it's really normal to make mistakes. And I think it's really great that key influencers have taken a stance and taken such remedial measures to bring the rates down, to bring the cases down. So hats off to them. Yeah.
Thanks, Samira. So, Savio and Mr. Amit, there was a user who just commented. He said, if he needs to go ahead and buy the book, where can he pick up the book from? And from your perspective, from both Amit and Savio's perspective, 3 reasons why anyone should go ahead and pick up this book.
So he can buy the book from Amazon, Amazon.in. If he just types Modi stole my mask in books, because if you don't type in books at the end of the title, masks show up. Because I think in the last 17 months, there has been so much of searching for masks that Amazon automatically shows up masks. So you can buy it on Amazon, but type Modi stole my mask in books. As far as why they should buy the book, the only reason, first of all, they should buy the book so that they read it. And the reason that they read it is very simple, that there has been all kinds of information that has been fed to every human being, right? At least above the age of 6, or maybe even above the age of 4 or 5. Even children, why am I wearing a mask? What's going on? Why am I not being able to go to school? So every human being almost has been affected by this pandemic. And people have heard all kinds of things about it, right? Why is it there? Oh, God is punishing us. Every mother has explained it to the child differently. Or discussions within families have been different. And anybody who follows either mainstream media or social media have been fed all kinds of poison. But I think everyone deserves to know the truth about India's COVID crisis. And the truth about India's COVID crisis, which is also the subtitle of the book, is what this book is all about.
Sure.
That's great, Amit. And we have Nirmala Mahajan with us. Nirmala, would you like to ask a question? I heard her mentioning Nirmala. I think
Savio's name.
Yeah.
She was mentioning Savio's name. Yeah.
I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
It's on now. No, she's still mute.
We can unmute her.
Yeah. So I think while she's being unmuted, just a last question to ask both of you. We all know that sensational news sells well, and that's what people want. The topic, the title of your book, the cover page is something that grabs everyone's attention, right from the corporate world. I've got a lot of calls asking me, what is this book about? And we want to attend this show. The same with the academic sector as well. So, can you tell us, what was the reason behind the title and to keep it so striking, pushing? I know
Bande
you
bande.
but for the benefit of all those who have just come in little late, if you can give us a very a quick snapshot of Modi stole my mask, you know. So if you could let us know what was the reason behind it and why did you stick to that title?
Well,
Fabio?
I could definitely say the fact that number one, when you really putting out a title, it needs to be attractive, it needs to be catchy, it needs to be intriguing enough, but it also needs to convey a message. And the message is that during the health crisis, like I said at the onset of this discussion, that everybody was looking for somebody to blame. So even if everything was done right, and you still got COVID, or somebody close to you was affected by COVID, you would
Hello.
still
If
end up
I
saying,
said
Modi stole
that
my mask.
in the second round, the opposition has blood, innocent blood.
Yes, go ahead.
If I said that the opposition and the lobby had innocent Indian blood on their hands in the second round, would I be wrong? Because so much of disinformation and propaganda about the vaccines, and senior citizens, frontline workers did not take the vaccination. And even though people did not go to the Kumbh, others have died in such large numbers. Would I be wrong in saying so?
No, you won't be wrong in saying so, ma'am. You see, the problem is this. The problem is, we were not dealing with a wave. In actuality, the second wave or the first wave, what we experienced in India was not a wave. What we experienced in India was a tsunami. And in a tsunami, any political leader in any part of the world dealing with the size of a country as big as India would have found it very difficult to deal with a health crisis. The problem is that the opposition, including some of the media, decided to make it a personal vendetta against Prime Minister Narendra Modi in order to make him look bad in India as well as globally. Now, I don't have a problem whether you dislike Modi or not. That's your prerogative. But what we need to understand here is that in a health crisis, when people around you are dying or families are suffering, if we don't deal with this crisis as a nation, as Indians, we are going to have people who are going to be able to spread that virus to many more people. Then it wouldn't matter whether there was Narendra Modi sitting on the chair or, God forbid, Rahul Gandhi sitting on that chair. We would all be victims of the virus. So we have to wake up. I tell people the first thing that you needed to do was to shut off your television, was to shut off your social media and go out and look for yourself for what the truth is all about. Because your people are dying. Your friends are died. I mean, people close to Amit, people close to me, they've moved on. We've never expected this. Look at life around for the last year and a half. It's completely changed the way the world operates. Are we still so stupid to consider that it's worth fighting over politics when we are losing human life? Come on, there's got to be some sensibilities here. It doesn't matter whether Modi is there or not.
And ma'am, you very rightly used the word lobby. I think the lobby is also a word that is used by some media persons. But one thing, Savio, we've never spoken about, even in any of these shows, and nor have we talked about it in the book. And I just thought about it when ma'am said lobby, right? The Prime Minister doesn't call them the lobby. He calls them the Khan Market Gang. And this time it's come true. It was the Khan Market Gang who planned the second wave, right? Navneet Kalra owns 32 shops in Khan Market, right?
Correct.
And he's the one who stocked up on oxygen concentrators 3.5 months before the second wave came.
I agree.
that is something all of us need to think about, what went behind this crisis, and, the continuing crisis which is still going on, and how can we all individually.
May I just share something? Okay.
Sure, Savio. Yeah.
If you think that the second wave is over, I'm saying this again, and I'm not a doomsday advocate. I'm a guy who normally talks with a lot of facts. If we let down our guard, we don't adhere to COVID protocols, we continue to be lax, you will face an even worse onslaught than you can imagine. Because you're dealing with a bio warfare weapon. This is China's bio weapon, and China has brought the war into our homes. It's not bought it at our borders. It's not bought it at our society doorsteps, not even in front of our house. It's brought the COVID right into our homes. So we don't know what this virus is going to do. That is why you're seeing different mutations. So for Christ's sake, adhere to COVID protocols, get vaccinated, or take your Ayurvedic or homeopathic medicine seriously and build your immunity. This is not a joke. And the last thing you should be doing is playing petty politics over it, because it's really not going to make any difference when you lose a loved one, because the politician is not going to come and weep. You are going to be weeping. So get real and take care of yourself.
I think those are very relevant points mentioned, Savio. And, at a crux, we should say Team India should stand together and fight together. And that was the purpose of having, both you and Amit with us today, to show the world that it is not one man who leads and takes care of the nation. It is all of us who can put our foot forward, take that leadership role, and be responsible for whatever we do, not just in preaching, but in practicing as well. So on this note, I would like to thank all of you for being with us on the show today. A special thanks to our partners, Ecosol Global, Shavins Entertainment, Boopalam, Botanical, Cicada Media, I Am Here, IJ Enablers, Eat Raja, Treadworks, Elephant Marketing, Sunshine Bakery, Peppercoin, and eTransform for also being our publicity partners and, spearheading this good cause. So on that note, warm regards to both of you, Savio Rodriguez and Amit Bagaria, for being here. We will also share a link to where the book will be available, so that our readers and our viewers out here can pick up the book. Over to you, Shekhar.
Thank you, Samira.
Would there be a sequel? Would there be a sequel for this book?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yes. Well, not really a sequel.
Because now that the great announcement day before yesterday, and coming down from the 4.2 lakhs to less than 1 lakh, the way in which the transformation is taking place in India, which of course all the world media has started observing. And Jaishankar has already brought, Foreign Minister has already answered that in his interview in America with General McMaster one. I hope you all have read that. So in the light of that, would there be another document coming on the states which they wanted to do on their own, and finally all of them failing and finally not able to organize and not able to get it? Now the center has taken over the responsibility.
So, sir, it's very difficult to get a book together and publish it. What we will be doing is getting out a series of articles, which will be published on Goa Chronicles, which we will, we'll update on our social media profiles that such articles have come out. Also, we are planning a docu-series on the subject of this book.
So, Sarishama, I'll share the link with you.
Okay, sure.
All right. Before we finish, I want everybody to quickly come on video. We've got a small activity, very quick, 30 seconds. And I'm sure we'll all enjoy this, hopefully. Everybody, can you come on video?
But then you got a big screen there. Yeah.
Everybody on video, quickly. 30 seconds is what I need you for. See, everybody on video, quickly. Just 30 seconds.
We regret see the screen, no? The big screen.
Yeah, big screen. So it's very simple. We spoke about something which I think resonates with every Indian. And I thought it's apt that we end with the national anthem. So are we all game to sing the national anthem? We would have done it when we were in a live situation. Right now we're in a virtual place. We can still sing the national anthem. So if you want to join,
Yeah, we can sing.
Yeah, we can
Why?
sing the national
I
anthem.
mean,
And
what
let's
does
sing
it
together.
got to, what has it got to do with the book?
It's just something very, 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 very nationalist. That's it. Yeah, because the book is all about India. The book is all about fighting COVID-19. And I thought, why not the national anthem?
But you have to get up.
Yeah.
So our camera has to be reset.
Camera has
Sitting
to be
pose is
reset.
what the camera is all about. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Savio stood up.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll
Ah,
start.
good. Yeah.
I have to stand up.
All right.
Start.
Janagana Mangal. Come on, people. Everybody.
Anandinayak Jaya He
Bharat
Bhagya Vidhata
Punjab
Gujarat Maratha Dravida Vindhya Himachal Yamuna Ganga Uttara Tava Shubha Name Shubha Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Jaya He Jaya Jaya He.
Thank you so much.
Good.
Jai Hind,
Wonderful.
everybody.
Nice to see.
Thank you so much. It's nice to see all of you. The spirit is very infectious. Thank you so much for all of you to come in on this very special day. And
Some reviews will be coming about the book shortly.
Yes.
Some reviews.
yes,
Leading.
Yes, we're getting quite a lot of reviews actually.
But very necessary.
Most of the media has decided not to write on us because we've exposed them.
Yes, yeah. And that is why we are here to support you all, because we believe that, the word should spread, people should be aware of what is happening. And thank you for taking all the hard work and efforts to share
Good.
these.
All the best.
Yeah.
So take care.
So
thank you,
all
thank
of
you, thank you, Amit. Thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to
Thank
all the
you.
participants.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.